Welcome to Lesson 5. The theme for this lesson is food. الطعام. الطعام. Lesson's objectives: overview of verbs in Arabic, conjugation of past tense verbs, listing of common past tense verbs, overview of past passive voice, and study of some vocabularies related to food. In Arabic, استعراض الأفعال في اللغة العربية. Overview of verbs الأفعال في اللغة in language العربية Arabic. تصريف الفعل الماضي the conjugation of past tense verb. قائمة للأفعال الماضية الشائعة. We're gonna present a listing للأفعال for the verbs الماضية past الشائعة common. Just a reminder, adjective comes after the noun in Arabic. عرض للفعل الماضي المبني للمجهول. We will have an overview of the past tense. للفعل لي is to. للفعل الماضي the past tense verb. المبني based. للمجهول passive basically. The fifth objective is تعلم study or learning الكلمات the vocabularies المتعلقة related بالطعام in food. This is section 2 of lesson 5, the grammar section. قواعد. We're basically focusing on the verbs, the past tense verb in particular. الأفعال, the verbs. الفعل الماضي. الفعل is the verb. الماضي, the past. الفعل الماضي, the past verb. Conjugating the past tense verb. تصريف الفعل الماضي. تصريف is conjugation or conjugating. الفعل الماضي, the past verb. Verb conjugation, e.g. present, past, etc. in English starts with the present tense, whereas verb conjugation in Arabic starts with the past tense. This is an important difference between English and Arabic. There are basically two tenses, non-past and past. Future is indicated by a prefix, so you either put sa before the verb or سوف ahead of it. Verbs change form based on gender, as we discussed before in a gender discussion. Verbs take a masculine or feminine form, and depending on the person, is it first, second, or third. The simplest form of the verb is associated with the third person singular, he or huwa in Arabic. So remember, the conjugation start with the past, and the simplest form of the past verb is associated with the third person singular, huwa. Most past tense verbs in Arabic have 3 consonants. So basically 3 letters that are non-vowels. And these verbs conjugate in similar pattern. So our focus of the lesson would be on those. Verbs containing a vowel, for example, قال, which means said. Here's the vowel in the middle of the verb, They follow a different pattern when conjugated. Conjugation of past tense verb is mostly accomplished by adding a letter or more to the end of the verb and changing its vocalization, basically changing the accent on the main letters. Here's an example. We have a three-letter verb. We indicated the three main letters of the verb in black here. And as we mentioned, the simplest form is associated with the third person singular, huwa. So huwa dhahaba, dhahaba. Three consonant letters. All three of them have a fatha on them, which is a common pattern. So three fathas, dhahaba, he went. Now if we wanted to change it to she went, we say hiya dhahabat. So we added a letter at the end, the ta, and it has a sukoon on it. And we kept the three fathas on the main letters as they are. So hiya dhahabat. If we wanted to say the third person plural, they went, hum dhahabu, dhahabu. We added a waw and an alif at the end. The last letter of the main verb, the ba, we changed that from a fatha to a dhamma. Dhahabu, hum dhahabu. When we go to the first person, ana, which is I, dhahabtu, ana dhahabtu. We added the ta at the end with a dhamma. We changed the tashkil, the accent on the ba, from fatha to sukoon. When we say we went, nahnu, nahnu, dhahabna, dhahabna. We added a noon and an alif for the we, and we changed the accent on the ba from fatha to sukoon. For a second person, you as a male, anta, we say anta dhahabta, anta dhahabta. We added a ta and with a fatha. Look at the pattern here. The ta on anta has a fatha, so the ta added at the end of the verb has a fatha as well. Anta dhahabta. When we go to addressing a female, we say anti dhahabti. See the pattern of the kasra on the ta on both sides. When we say to you as plural, you went, we say antum dhahabtum. We added a ta and a meme, and we just changed again the fatha on the ba to sukoon. If you look at the conjugation, just to pick on some patterns, the first two letters kind of they kept their accents throughout this conjugation process. So the and ha, they kept their accents. So huwa dhahaba. The ba either kept its fatha or it went mostly to a sukoon. You can see it with a sukoon. Only in the form of hum dhahabu, we actually had to put a dhamma here because of the waw. The waw is a vowel here, and it needs to be preceded by its corresponding short vowel to be able to be pronounced as a vowel. So that's the Dhamma on the back. So again, the first two letters kept their accents throughout. The ba, for the most part, it took a sukoon in conjugation. Here's another example for the verbs that have a vowel in them. And in this case, we chose a verb with an alif in the middle of the verb that is originally a waw, and I'll explain that a little bit. It's basically, if you look at the present tense form of that verb, it is a waw, not an alif. But in the past tense form of it, it appears as alif. So just remember there's some alifs that are originally a waw and some alifs in some verbs that are originally a ya, or in the present tense they take these forms, or in their infinite or original, what they call it, the masdar in Arabic, the origin of the word. It has that form. So here again, qala said, he said, huwa qala. I indicated the three letters, the two main letters in black, and the vowel is in green. When we go to hiya qalat. So this is just accomplished by adding the ta with a sukoon at the end. When we go to hum, the third person, hum, they said, hum qalu. Basically, the three letters are kept, and it followed similar patterns of adding these letters at the end to the previous example of dhahaba. Here's the main difference here when we go to I, and basically the first and the second person, the vowel disappears. So ana qultu, and nahnu qulna, anta qulta, anti qulti, and antum qultum. So let's pick up some patterns here. Except for the third person, the vowel disappears. The accent on the first letter becomes a dhamma instead of a fatha. The last letter, which is in the previous example in dhahaba, it's the ba. Here, the lam, the last letter, the third letter, basically takes mostly a sukoon in the first and second person tenses. It takes a sukoon. And again, in the first and the second, the vowel disappears from the verb. So let's review some of this. Huwa qala, hiya qalat. We just added the ta with a sukoon. Hum qalu. We added the waw and the alif. Went to ana. The vowel again disappears. The ta with a dhamma at the end. So if you look at the ana, I went, ana dhahabtu, again we added the ta with the dhamma. So the additions at the end, they're all the same. Again, the addition, if you look at the ta with the sukoon for here, the waw and the alif for hum, the ta with the dhamma for ana, the noon and an alif for nahnu, the ta with a fatha for anta, the ta with a kasra for anti, and the ta and the meme for antum. You look at it here the same way. Ta with a sukoon, waw with an alif, ta with a dhamma, noon and alif, ta with a fatha, ta with a kasra, ta and mim. So the additions of the letters to the end of the verbs are the same, whether it's three constant verbs or a verb with a vowel in the middle here, the alif, that is in its origin is a waw. Here's a third example. Here, the alif in the middle of the verb again, but the origin of the word, that alif, is a ya. The verb mean ba'a, ba'a, sold, he sold, huwa ba'a. Again, the additions at the end are the same. They don't change. For the first person and the second person, the vowel disappears. Instead of having the first letter taken a dhamma in a conjugation, here it takes a kasra in the first and second person. Remember that the kasra is associated with the ya and the dhamma is associated with the waw. So if you go to qala, and we said that this alif is originally a waw, the dhamma is associated with the waw, so the letters here, all the first letters would take a dhamma. In this case, for the first and second person conjugation, the first letter takes a kasra. أنا بعت, نحن بعنا, أنت بعت, أنت بعتِ, أنتم بعتم. Here are common past tense verbs in the third singular form. In Arabic, الأفعال الماضية الشائعة, the verbs, the past, the common, مع الضمير المفرد المذكر الغائب, with the independent pronoun masculine. الغائب is the third person, هو. الأفعال الماضية الشائعة مع الضمير المفرد المذكر الغائب, هو. And I will just be reading, starting with the Arabic and just say the translation. جلس. Notice that we're starting all the verbs with the patterns that have three fathas. Basically, all letters are consonant letters. So 3 consonant letters and all have fatha on it. So jalasa, he sat. Rabata, he tied. Hamala, he carried. Nasakha, he copied. Rasama, he painted. Dakhala, he entered. Sharaha, he explained. Nashara, he published. Qafaza, and apologize, the fatha is missing here on the zay. He jumped. Kataba, which we reviewed before, he wrote. Kharaja, he exited. Qasama, he divided. Arafa, he knew. Dhahaba, which we just went through it and conjugated it, he went. Shakara, he thanked. And if you recall the word shukran, shukran is all thanks to you. شكرا لك or شكرا لك. We're starting with a little bit variation of the pattern. The second letter take a kasra here. قبل, قبل. He accepted, he accepted. Continuing with that pattern. لبس, he wore. فهم, he understood. شرب, he drank. أكل, he ate. Now you could see there's a vowel in the beginning of the verb. Here's وجد, he found. A wow, a vowel, wow starting the verb. He found. وعد, he promised. Again, the wow is in the beginning. وقف, he stood. And here's the wow in the beginning again. غنى, he sang. You could consider this to be a four-letter verbs because the shadda here basically doubled the letters. So these are two noons, one noon with a sukoon and one noon with a fatha, as we explained when we explained how the shadda act. So, and here there's an alif or a ya. It's also in some form of the verb, it appears as a ya, like in the present tense verb. So either way, there's a vowel at the end of the verb. Now let's discuss the passive voice, past tense. الفعل الماضي, the verb, the past. المبني, the based on. للمجهول, the passive voice. Passive voice is used with past and present tense verbs, basically. In Arabic, this is accomplished by changing the vocalization of the verbs. So you change the accents on the letters, and that accomplishes the passive voice. For the three consonant past verbs, the common ones that we discussed with three consonants, we place a dhamma on the first letter and a kasra on the letter before last. So here, since we have three letters, basically we place a dhamma on the first letter. This is an example, fataha. It's a three consonant past verb, the three letters with fathas. So fataha. We change the first letter to a dhamma and the one before last, which is the ta, to a kasra. So it becomes futiha, futiha, was opened, was opened. Fataha, he opened. Futiha, was opened. For the three-letter past verbs with a vowel in the middle, we discussed in the previous slides two forms of those, qala and ba'a. Qala, the alif in its original form of the word, it was a waw. And ba'a, which has in its origin, it's a ya. Either way, they follow the same pattern when it comes to the passive voice. So qala, we change the alif to a ya, and ba'a, in the same thing, we change the alif to a ya, and we have to place a kasra before the ya on the first letter. So qala becomes qila. So we put a kasra on the first letter, the alif becomes a ya, and the lam stays intact. And ba'a becomes bi'a. Kasra on the first letter because it's before the ya, the alif is changed to a ya, and the ain stays intact. Again, these are the three-letter past verbs with a vowel in the middle. We basically change the vowel to a ya and put a kasra on the first letter. For a 3-letter past verbs that start with a vowel, like wasala, arrived, we placed a dhamma on the first letter and a kasra on the letter before the last letter. So basically a kasra on the middle letter. So wasala becomes wasila. Wasila. We place a dhamma on the first and a kasra on the letter before last, which is the middle here again, and it's wasila. Another example is akala. He ate. He ate. Ukila was eaten. Was eaten. Ukila. A dhamma on the first letter and a kasra on the middle. That concludes our grammar section for this lesson. And now to the vocabulary.